What's up, everybody? My name is Joe. Welcome to Lumberjacks 2024. This is a panel talking about the early days of MAGFest from a bunch of people who've experienced it. My name is Joe. I have been here since MAGFest 1. I have never missed one, and that is where the term lumberjack comes from. At MAGFest 1, the sign said, "Welcome, woodsmen of the world," because of another event going on that weekend. So when we were looking for the place, we just assumed we were all lumberjacks, and the name stuck. We have a crew of people who've been to a bunch of MAGFests, or all of them. Just introduce yourselves going down. Bunny, you start.
All right, hi, I'm Bunny. I'm gonna play the token staffer here. I have not, unfortunately, been to every MAGFest, but I'm on my 17th year with the organization, consoles department head, and I have seen everything from drunken debauchery to non-drunken debauchery, and I plan to tell all of those stories.
Hey, my name is Ian. I am also a lumberjack. I've been coming since the very first one. I've been to all of them, and just for a frame of reference for anyone who might not know, this is the 21st MAGFest.
My back.
21 of 21.
MAGFest can drink now.
So when people say, like, I've been for this many, you know, you have a frame of reference. But, yeah, I mean, I've been here for every single one of them.
Okay. Yeah, not counting, like, MAG-West, MAG-Labs.
Yeah, not counting,
There's
yeah.
always
just,
Mag Prime
just,
at this point, I think.
Yeah, just
So
the
we
Super
have been to
MAGFest.
some of those, too. So.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Matt, sometimes Zerum online, but either way, I'm also a lumberjack. Cool.
Hello, my name is Pernell. I am not a lumberjack. I was pretty much the console game head for the first 2 years, and I was a part of the initial dialogue for the event and the promotions of the initial 2 years. So there's fun to that. And then I didn't come to MAGFest again until the 10-year anniversary, when I was invited to come back for the 10-year anniversary panel. And then I feel like I want to say I've been here every year since then. Generally, it's almost like I never set out to come. It always be like, well, my friends are going to be there, so I should go. Or I have the MAGFest Pokemon League, I got to go. But I always have a good time when I go out, so I like MAGFest.
I'm Grant. I go by Stemmage when music is a thing. My band Metroid Metal was born at MAGFest. And my first was 6, so I was a little late. I was a little late getting here, but it changed my life and the trajectory of everything I do, the friend groups I have, the things I do for a living, and Metroid Metal is still a band playing. We're a little more sore in the morning, but we're doing it. So yeah, thanks for having me up here, guys. Appreciate it.
Tonight, they're playing.
7:30.
I am Christopher Getman, also known as Maze Dude. I haven't been to every MAGFest, but I was at the first, and every 5 years I show up at one, so, you know, it's been sporadic, but it's been fun to watch it evolve, and it'll be fun to talk about how it was. So.
Indeed. We are going to share some of our favorite stories from the years at MAGFest, and we'll take some questions if anyone has any. But my first question to everyone here, I know a few of you have answered this in previous years, but what brought you to MAGFest?
Okay, I laugh because this is a great story. So I am originally from Chicago, and I had an ex-boyfriend come down because I was living down in Virginia at the time, and he goes, "So can I stay on your couch for this?" And I'm like, "Why do you need to come down?" He's like, "There's video games there." And I was like, "Oh, okay, we're good." So he comes down, and one thing leads to another, and I kick him out. And as an apology gift, he says, "Let me give you a one-day badge to this event that I'm going to." And I'm like, "Sure, that sounds great. Let's do the thing." So I get there, and he gives me this badge, and I'm wandering around, and I wander into this place is haunted. And it was like so epic. And the ceilings in this place were so low that anybody jumping was going to hit their head on the ceiling. It was great. So I'm like, this is a little dangerous. I love the music. I'll get their stuff later. Wander into the console room, which I've lived in ever since. And I go, and these guys are playing this game I've never seen before. It's this plastic guitar with buttons on it. And I look at that, and I'm like, whoa, this looks really cool. I really want to do this. And they turn around after their song, and they go, "Hey, you look like you've never played this before. Can we show you the game and help you learn it?" And it's that vibe that I've been chasing for the last 17 years.
As for
Every year.
I mean,
yeah.
I help do that vibe every year.
As for me, I'm trying to think. I was in college at the time, and a mutual friend of ours just came up to me out of the blue and was like, "Hey, me and a friend are going to go down to this video game thing down in Virginia, and my boyfriend waffled out at the last second. Would you want to go?" And I was like, "What is it?" "MAGFest. Never heard of it." "How? When are we leaving?" And it's like, "In about like 3 days." I'm like, "Sure, fuck it. Why not?" So like we drove down at, oh god, I mean, I'm trying to think, because it was a 7-hour drive, and I don't think we got there till like 1 in the morning. And this rickety pickup truck, like, and oh god, and it was so cold too, because we had to keep the windows down to stay awake. But yeah, I mean, I went there and met a bunch of people and made a lot of friends, and it's like, "You gonna come back again?" It's like, "Yeah, I think I will, with better planning and structure." So yeah, and here I am like 20 years later. Yeah, well, the first MAGFest was in September of 2002. So we're older than a lot of kids that are attending today. But yeah.
Okay. So at the summer before that first MAGFest, I was working for a fanzine and selling copies of it at Otakon, and I believe it was Sean, who was like the vice chair, was kind of going around and advertising it. And I was more into video games than anime, so I'm like, hey, that sounds cool. So yeah, I came out to the first one. I'd scheduled to do some interviews with a couple of the people there. So like Stephen Kennedy from Project Majestic Mix, Mustin and Dale from One Up Studios, Vert, who is, well, Dale as well, but like both of them have gone on to do many video game soundtracks since then. And yeah, I've been coming back ever since.
So this gets hazy as I get older, and I acknowledge that. But the best way to put this is that, so I was friends with the original founder of the convention back in the day, and we would go to like Katsucon and Otakon and the like, and we were more video gamey people than, you know, anime folk, even though we did like anime. So there would be a habit where we kind of discuss, like, man, it'd be real nice if there was like more of a video game focus at these things, yada, 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 talking like at the day's end and stuff with friends. And Joe, on the side, always kind of wanted to do his own convention down in his area, though for a while he was leaning on the anime end of it because anime was what was in. So he wanted to make something called OmakeCon, which was a thing he was, you know, kind of working with for a while. And then one day he reaches out and he's like, hey, so I had this idea that I want to work with more. So, you know, we always talk about, you know, video game conventions and stuff like that. I think I want to pivot from Omake and doing MAGFest and something called, you know, MAGFest instead. Basically like video games within the primary focus. We wanted to expand on it a bit more. And he was like, hey, do you think you'd want to do like the video games? I was like, oh, absolutely. That's what I do. So, so I came on board there as basically the consoles video games guy. That's the funny part. We were so small back then, it wasn't even consoles. It was just video games. And we had like 1 or 2 arcade machines there. One of them was Brendan's game, which was He was like DDR on Linux.
Python was what it was running on. Hence
So,
Pi DDR.
and it was just it's interesting. Like, wow, he built this all by himself. It was an amazing time. And like I look back on that experience pretty fondly. But yeah, that's what brought me to MAGFest essentially.
For reference, the first MAGFest game room was smaller than this room.
That is correct. Well, it was about this size. It wasn't smaller than this. Hold on now.
Yeah, it was roughly about this size, maybe a smidge smaller, but yeah.
I get 2 microphones. So back when I had this Metroid Metal project that was just myself and my bass player, and we were part of 2 communities mostly. Well, it was the Shiz and Metroid Metal, and we just kept hearing about this MAGFest thing, and we said, we're in Asheville, North Carolina, quick drive, let's just check it out. We go, and we learned that all these bands had members, they were so tight, and none of them lived near each other. I'm like, is that possible? You know, it was always, back then it's like you had to play with local people. You had bands, everyone needed to live near each other. So we were galvanized, and on the ride home from that first MAG, we were scheming, trying to figure out who we could get to play guitar in the band. we had thought of a few people, and we're like, Danimal and Kirby are not going to want to do this thing. And they were like, sure, let's go. So that year, we formed the band and then played the next MAGFest. And back then, it was 2 nights of 4 bands. It wasn't this like pile of acts, applying every single year. So if you had your act together, you could probably at least play a quick jam space thing. But yeah, they booked us, and we came and we practiced one day, and then played the next day, and that's it. So music is, what got me here. That's for sure.
Yeah, music also got me here. Back then, I was an up-and-coming video game music remixer. I learned if you release a remix from Chrono Trigger, people like it. So I made a Blaster Master remix, and people like that too. Then I made a Final Fantasy remix, and people like that too. And I was like, this is fun. I'm going to keep making these. And then this guy named Mustin reached out. He's like, dude, your music's good. I checked out his. I'm like, yours is too. And we just got talking. And Mustin was like, I'm forming this little band called the One Up Mushrooms. And that's what it was called originally. Yep. And we're doing this show. We're in Arkansas, but we're doing this show at this thing called MAGFest, and there's going to be games and other music stuff there. I'm like, that sounds fun. Actually meeting people in person, not just talking online. It's not too far from where I live. Sure. And yeah, it was a blast.
So here's another question, and this goes out to the people in the audience as well. Pernell, you're not allowed to answer.
But I like answering.
What was the original name for MAGFest? What did it stand for?
I'm glad you said that because I was actually about to say it.
Staff, you can't answer. That's not fair.
Mid-Atlantic Gaming Festival.
Correct.
That is it. Mid-Atlantic Gaming Festival, yeah.
I kind of wish they'd stayed that way just for the sake of being able to say it's Mid-Atlantic Gaming Festival West. It's just like
Westiful.
MPG Fest. So what is the craziest story you have about MAGFest? Grant, I want to start with you because I know you said you have a story from our friend Danimal.
I do.
So let's hear that first.
We were chatting about we have a list of just anecdotes and whatever, but he told me a story last night that I wasn't aware of. Apparently it was Mag 5, I think, and I'm not going to name any names, but let's say there was a guy that had all of the music gear that was supplying the main stage. It was all his stuff, his mixing board, everything. And then there's this contest called Dwelling of Duels, where you submit a game remix, there's a live listening party, and everyone just sort of critiques everything they hear, compliments stuff that they like or whatever, and it's all very vocal and all in good fun because it's mostly friends, but it can get a little critical. And let's just say the guy who had all that main stage gear did a really bad video game cover for the listening party of DoD. Oh no. It was, I don't know if it was his first arrangement, not sure, but it got a bit laughed at during the listening party because it was the 6th time that song had been covered at the listening party, and he didn't take it very well, and he packed up all the main stage gear, the console, the speakers, and disappeared. And this is the day before the first concert.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
So many of you may know Norg or George Novick.
Yeah.
So George goes down to Guitar Center or something, puts a whole PA system on his credit card.
Damn.
The show happens. He takes it all back to Guitar Center. That was his first mixing gig for Mag, and he would then be the main audio mixer for probably the next 10 years or something, So yeah, Mag 5 almost didn't have concerts, I guess.
I gotta ask now. I gotta know though. Is that guy still a part of Dwelling of Duels, or did they ostracize him after that showmanship?
He ostracized himself. He disappeared. So dude is guy is gone. I don't know if anyone's tried to find him, but no one knows where this guy ended up after that.
That's pretty amazing. I never heard that story. I love that.
Yeah, that's new to me.
So, Bunny, let's work our way down like usual. What's the craziest story you have for MAGFest?
I don't have a craziest story. When you work consoles for as long as I have, you have many stories. Would you like a staffer-based story, a user-based story, a hotel-based story?
I mean, they all sound good. I mean,
Yes.
user-based story.
User-based. Oh, I hear user-based. All right. So let's start with user-based. So this is one of my favorite ones, and these guys have all heard it 3 trillion times. But I'm the enforcer of consoles. Now, this is funny because my management staff, all 9 of them, are large men over the size of 6'3", right? I'm 5'4". I am hard-pressed to be quite this threatening. However, I am. So what happens is at 2 or 3 in the morning when we have drunk and belligerent, they call me and they're like, put some pants on, we need you. So we get downstairs, which is also why I never have a floor in the Gaylord that's higher than 5, so I can run down the stairs in a, half-awake stupor. But anyway, so I get downstairs. This was in the Mark Center in Alexandria, Virginia. And they say, all right, so here's the problem. There's a dude, and he's naked. And we need him to not be naked in this space. And I was like, all right, I got you, man. So he, at this time, the console room and the arcade room were one and the same. So the arcades were lining the outside of the console room, which, let me tell you, real bad for breakers, real bad. But so we get over there, and the back corner of the room is this one arcade game that has been played all weekend long, and this naked dude is just in front of it. He has decided that this is how he's going to be, and people cannot tear him away. I mean, they're dragging.
What game?
I have no idea.
I just want to imagine it's DDR and he's flopping around.
No, not so much.
I was just thinking X-Men, but
No, the X-Men they put outside so that the roar could. Never mind.
100
Anyways,
combo.
so we have him there. We have his friends desperately trying to drag him away, and he is an immovable object. And I get up there and I go, "Hey man, how's it going?" He goes, "Dude, I just cannot beat this score. Like, I've been trying forever, but like, man, this hard." I'm like, "Yeah, it is hard. That you're right. So I stop for a second. I let him play. I watch him, and he goes, "What?" And I go, "Dude, have you seen the time here?" And he goes, "No, what time is it?" I go, "Man, it's fucking pants o'clock. You're underdressed." He goes, "Oh shit!" and takes off at a giant clip just out of the room. His friends are like, "Thanks," and run after him. Have no idea where he went, but he was no longer naked in my room.
It's pants o'clock.
Ian.
I don't think I necessarily have a crazy story, at least I could begin to compare to what we've heard already. I don't know, the story I usually like telling is I mean, it's not even really, like I said, it's not even crazy. It's more of like something that happens that kind of like embodies like the MAGFest vibe. Because back at MAGFest 1, I was, obviously, being a college student, usually didn't go to sleep until like the ass crack of dawn. And like I said, I got here late anyways, and I heard that the video game room was open for 24/7. It's like, okay, well, maybe I'll wander down, take a look, see what's going on. I mean, hopefully it's fairly empty. And I went down there and wandered around. Eventually, I saw this one dude playing on Bomberman for, I do believe it was Super NES.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, "Hey, you mind if I jump in and play?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, go right ahead." So I jumped down and we jumped in, we're playing, and eventually another person walks up and is like, "Hey, do you mind if I play?" "Sure." And it continues on until we have like full 8 people playing Bomberman at like 3, 4 in the morning. And of course we're like punch drunk, tired, giggling at the dumbest shit, saying the stupidest things. And out there on the internet, there is an actual picture of all of us just like 1,000-yard stare watching, and playing Bomberman and trying not to completely suck at it. And we literally went until dawn. And like I said, that was the sort of thing that like really kind of cemented the MAGFest vibe, is just, meeting new people, finding that solidarity in video games and just having a good time. And, even if you never saw them again, you still have that really fun, awesome memory that makes you want to keep coming back for more. And, like I said, that's how I identify the fun times at MAGFest. And, I really get a kick out of other people having those kind of experiences. Because, that's kind of one of the things MAGFest is all about.
Anyone here, just show of hands, party with people you've never met before at MAGFest? Yeah, it's the MAGFest vibe. You just meet people and party.
MAGFest experience.
Affirmative.
Okay.
Matt?
Well, in past years on this panel, I've told some stories from MAGFest 1, and I guess you could probably look them up on the YouTube channel since I'm going to try to do something different here. MAGFest 3, so the second and third MAGFest were in Williamsburg because Brendan, who kind of bought the festival when other Joe moved out west, moved it to Williamsburg. And the power supply, since someone mentioned breakers before, of that hotel could not handle all the stuff that was going on between LAN parties and concerts. There was also the elevator that ate people. So
What?
there was an elevator that just didn't have that sensor working to reopen the doors if they
Yeah.
hit something.
So people would
So-
be trapped in the elevator for copious amounts of time while other people were waiting to use the elevator to get to where they needed to
And
go.
it got to the point that someone made little like jagged teeth paper and like put them on the edges of the two doors, like the elevator doors were a giant mouth.
Elevator will eat you.
Also, not the first time we've messed with the elevators. The Mark Center was infamous for its elevator parties, wherein we not only had full DJ setups, but they brought in small tables and chairs, had a formal tea party. There was also the club rave where they installed lights in the top. And the other one where I, no joke, found people who had dragged trash cans in and were dressed in kigurumi kind of things coming out of the trash cans to greet people who use the elevators. So elevators are a thing here.
How does the Mark Center let you keep going for those years?
Okay, not only that, but they begged us to come back after the entire wing was covered in dildos.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I mean, long story short, we made them bank.
Yes.
In fact,
Also, that's what insurance is for.
Yes.
yeah. Quick little side story, because when we first went to the Hilton Alexandria, Mark, we were kind of competing for space with, I do believe we called them the Bond bitches.
Yes.
There was some sort of like really formal event where people were like dressed to the nines, and they fucking hated us.
And
I was gonna ask about
You
that.
attended both things, that
Yeah.
and MAGFest.
Wasn't
And-
it a James Bond
It was a
thing?
It was a
Yeah.
it was a New Year's Eve party.
Okay.
that was
Yeah, we just called
basically
them
the
Bond
night
bitches because,
before.
like, you know, James Bond, all super stylish, perfectly coiffed, you know, very elegant and high, and they fucking hated us.
And then us.
And yeah, and the funny thing was that they actually went to the higher ups at the hotel and gave them the ultimatum: either they go or we go. Yeah, guess who stuck around?
So it's like young 20-somethings, and you know it's 5 a.m. and the wardrobe racks at that side of the hotel are still there with all kinds of fancy clothes. So you can imagine what would happen, like mad kids going over there and getting dressed up. I mean, it was they
Yeah,
cross
there
pollinated.
were infiltrators.
I want to say it was MAGFest 3, maybe, that there was some kind of religious event going on the same weekend as MAGFest, and there were some scantily clad girls that would just walk around, and the church group was just losing their friggin' minds at these cosplayers walking around in skimpy outfits.
Yeah.
That was a fun weekend.
One of those marriage counseling events where everybody's walking around holding hands and then the guys are doing
Pernell.
Okay, let me think here. I feel like the ones I usually come to mind as far as humor goes for myself was the second year MAGFest. There was a group, I can't remember the name of the group anymore. They were like a group of fighting game players that came down from New York City.
Empire Arcadia.
Empire Arcade, there we go, thank you. And amongst those guys, there was a player named Justin Wong, he's very famous. Back then he still is. At the time, I didn't know anything about him, because I wasn't really into fighting games. So I met him there and had conversations with him. He told me, he's good at X fighting game and whatnot, and I learned what his accolades were. So I started getting this fun idea of being like, okay, so you're that good at fighting games? Like, yeah. I was like, well, I feel like fighting games are generally similar to each other. Once you get a handle of the mechanics, you can take the skills and run them across any other fighting game for the most part. And he's like, sometimes, but I'm not so sure about this. No, I think it's true. So I started getting into the habit of being like, okay, we're having this fighting game tournament. Have you ever played this before? He's like, no. I'm like, you're putting your name there. What about this game? You ever play? No, putting your name on there. So I put him in pretty much every fighting game tournament we had, even for games he'd never played before, and just watched him just steamroll people in such a way that it was magical, to be perfectly honest with you. But I had a great time with that cat. And the other end of that spectrum, though, was like, that I thought was hilarious was, again, this is MAGFest 2, so we weren't a big event or nothing. It was like a big room for the games, but the event was still small. And the head of Empire Arcadia at the time was trying to convince me to like rig the brackets for like the fighting game tournaments because they would bring more drama to the event. And I'm listening to him tell me this. I'm like, what are you talking about? What drama? Like, you think somebody's going to actually sit in the audience and go, oh my God, these guys have had a rivalry in New York for 5 years. What's going to happen when they battle tonight? Like, here's my bracket, number 1 and number 2. Oh my God, it's crazy, right? But he did not like that one bit. Almost like I was like belittling. I was like, I'm not belittling it. I just don't see the value in trying to like rig a bracket for a fighting game tournament. Just play the damn game, and whoever gets there is going to get there. That's all I care about.
Pernell, was that Triforce?
Yes.
Does anyone know Triforce Johnson?
He's bought like
Okay.
the first of most consoles at the Nintendo
Yeah,
store. in New York.
he made news headlines for camping out in front of Nintendo World a bunch of times, being the first in line.
He always wore a power glove.
Yeah, he always wore a power glove. He's probably one of the more infamous attendees of MAGFest back in the day.
And if I can jump in really quickly.
Go ahead.
So just to give you perspective on Justin Wong, he is a very great player, but there is a video from Evo that a lot of you probably have seen where it's a Ken and Chun-Li, and the Ken parries every hit of the special and comes back to win it. Justin Wong is the one who lost in that match.
Yeah, the Evo moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That video, Justin is the other player.
Man, see, I tell you, but like, see, now I'm glad I didn't bet him on for that match. I'd have been in trouble. But yeah, like, I think the Triforce even had, like, was there a documentary done on his group or something? Because I feel like I remember seeing him do, like, an interview talking about his entire group or whatever. But yeah, like, that whole thing was just a
I
mess.
remember they had a fashion show too, but I don't know about documentary.
The requirement was everyone had to wear a power glove, probably.
I have a quick question, Joe. If you remember the bacon cooking at the concerts.
Yes.
So my first interaction with Joe was watching. I think it was Smash Brothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
Which
Smash
is-
Brothers who did all the food
Super
stuff.
group,
Yep.
VGM supergroup, circa Mag 6. And in between songs, there's this sound, and it's close and it's popping and it's bacon cooking. It's bacon cooking because Joe Cam is outside.
With a couple of, it wasn't just me, like the Taras was the cook. Who else was,
Oh, shoot, I don't remember.
you were involved, weren't you? Rez was involved, I think. Rez was serving.
I wasn't. I was too busy having fun in the mosh pit.
Well, there were, we basically
yeah.
just cooked bacon and served it to people by hand
Yes.
from the stage.
So in between
Yeah,
songs,
there's like a couple barbecue.
Here comes
pits out
another
there.
run. Here comes
Can't pull
Fresh,
that shit now,
roasted
can you?
bacon.
Where's the bacon now, Joe? Where's the bacon now? I want bacon.
Ask the cafe downstairs. It's $14 if you want some.
Oh, Jesus.
Per strip.
the food was at a premium at that place, and so it was like ravenous kids at the end of the night. You know, people are walking on stage with bacon, and it is literally like it's like piranhas trying and eating bacon out of
I
people's
think
hands.
I think we did food 3 times with the Smash Brothers.
It was hot dog.
Bacon,
Hot dog, yeah.
meatballs, and then hot dogs.
Yep.
The Smash
So
Brothers
yes,
actually
we
named
fed
their EP
people
Bacon.
at concerts. That's how weird it used to be.
I was just saying the Smash Brothers, when they released an EP, it was called Bacon.
Bacon.
Yep, that was the name of the collection. Yeah. Delicious. Yep.
We got a question back here. You got a question, sir? Oh no, you can go for it.
Right, well, I heard that there was a band that you were graced by them appearing at the first MAGFest, and they've been one of the longest performing bands in all the MAGFests.
You talking about the one-ups?
Here are the one-ups or the mini bosses.
probably.
I mean,
I would
so,
probably
so
one.
MAGFest 1, it was 3 bands.
Yes.
The 2 that we mentioned, and then Everyone.
Everyone.
Who was
E for
a local
Everyone.
Group, I think maybe, but.
They
the
weren't
mini
that
bosses
good.
They
have
weren't
been
good.
back a couple times. The one-ups have
They-
been here varying points over the years.
Yeah, but back then
They
they were
were
the
last
one-up
year.
mushrooms, and then they changed
Drop
to
the mushrooms.
Yep,
Yeah, the
the
one-ups and the
one-ups.
mini bosses are both still going.
I
So
will
they've
say this, though,
been
as a-
doing it for over 20 years.
I was about to say, like, I feel like one follow-up that might allude to, like, your question in that sense is that I think, I might be wrong, but the Mini Bosses is probably, in my understanding, the oldest BGM
so,
cover
yeah.
band.
Yeah.
Like,
They were
ever.
the first known, at least.
Yeah.
You know, that got out in Nintendo Power and all that sort of stuff.
That was the one we still had dial-up in the dorms and would download the MP3s from minibosses.com. So that was
Good old Napster.
they're the oldest.
That was actually going to be my story because I'd heard the Mini Bosses recordings, and I told a few of this where I was like, I was not impressed with the quality of the recordings because it was clipping, it wasn't very well compressed, and I was just kind of like, this band's okay. Then I go to MAGFest, and they destroyed it. They were so freaking good live, and it was just from the chill one-ups to Mini Bosses, and then it turned into a full-on mosh pit where we were leaping against each other and jumping and smashing into each other. It was so much fun.
All 40 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one of my memories. It was a small room too, and then not a big stage. It was just like this little tiny, up a few inches. That's your stage basically. Yep. But the other iconic memory, to piggyback off of Ian's comment, like not a while, but just when you zoom back, the thing that stuck out to me was sitting in a room talking with Dale North about the nuances of chord progressions for the longest time, and just having that surreal moment of where I'm like, I'm talking music. I don't get to do this every day. I don't have like musicians I play with at home or anything, but like coming here, I can get lost talking about music, talking about chips, talking about tracking, arranging, music theory, whatever, and it's just so fun to just get lost in that.
You probably can relate to this, but I feel like the best musicians I've ever met are here.
Yeah.
They're here. Like they're playing video game music.
say
They're
so, yeah.
all virtuosos. They're like make you better.
Yeah.
Hanging out with all these people here, it's crazy.
Yep.
And that is one of the cool things about MAGFest is that, like, you know, some people get kind of starstruck with guests and stuff like that, and you'll never know. Like, all you have to do is take a look to your left, and all of a sudden, one of the celebrity guests is playing on the arcade cabinet right next to you. Yeah. I mean, you can bump into anyone at any time, anywhere here.
You could end up playing Tetris against Phil Moore from Nick Arcade.
Yeah.
I did that a couple years ago.
Just chatting with David
Kicked
Wise.
his ass.
I played Gallagher with Tommy
One thing I'm
Tallarico.
kinda
Austin Wintory was here one time.
Just as a note, we do in fact have several guests that are challenging anybody who wants to play. I think one of them Street Fighter, one of them Sonic. There's a couple of other ones. Go down to consoles. They're sitting in the BYOC section, so go play your favorite guests.
That sounds cool, actually. That's awesome. One thing that comes to mind, just clicked, is the way you guys are talking about, the musicians here, and they're like, I'm surprised no one's attempted this shit. Like, has there ever been thought of like a like VGM cover or otherwise like awards thing that would happen here, just as like a fun thing to be like, hey, we're going to just talk about all these cover tracks that have come out in the last few years and do like best of this, best of that, or best from that.
That would be cool.
Yeah, the Maggies. It'd be the Maggies. It would be great.
Pernell, you should have had that up, being that you run Rhythm and Pixels.
Yeah, where's the Maggies, Pernell?
Maybe it could happen. I think that would be a lot
Next
of fun.
year, stay tuned for the first annual Maggie Awards,
You guys kid, but I might throw that in the ring now.
hosted by Pernell Vaughan of Rhythm and Pixels.
I'm gonna say, what music are we gonna use to play people out when I speech for too long?
Again,
One
Trumbo
Winged
Champ.
Hut.
The one from Kid Icarus. The Mini Bosses version.
That'll work.
We have a question?
Question?
Yep.
I know early on you were just grateful whatever band will perform at your event, but at what point were you large enough and popular enough that you had to actually turn bands away?
Yeah, I know.
Bunny, that might
You're probably looking at me for that one.
Yeah,
I
you're
think
the only
first
staffer who
time-
could answer that.
The first time that I know of, and granted, I'm not part of music. I've been consoles from the beginning. Probably the first time that I know of that they had to turn bands away was actually rather early. It was at MAGFest 7 or 8, because we at that time at the Mark Center only had one music stage. So like we had a lot of bands, but there was still only one stage as compared to here where there's 8. And so when we were getting to a point where people were going, oh, this is actually a thing, and we were starting, one of the keys to this is MAGFest actually supplies both music and video games to a bunch of other cons. We used to run the jam space for PAX. We used to run it for PAX East as well. We do run the consoles and arcade space for AwesomeCon, for BlurredCon, a bunch of places. So in all of these, they recognized who was the name behind this, and so bands got really hype to come here and like experience. So I think 7 or 8, roundabout there, we had to turn like one band away or 2 bands away because there just weren't enough spots with that stage.
Only so much space and only so much time.
Yeah.
Any idea how many bands applied this year?
I think the acceptance rate for bands This year is roughly about 12% acceptance rate. We have, yes. It is so incredibly difficult. They go an entire year vetting bands, and the thing is it's no longer bands from just the Mid-Atlantic area. We get bands from all over the world. People are sending us notes immediately after MAGFest, going, "Hey, I saw somebody awesome. We're located in Stockholm. Can you get us there?" It's incredible.
I want to add that there's also the jam space
Yep.
has been a thing for a very, very long time. So anyone that, people will still come. Their band may not be playing on the stage, but they'll schedule a set, 5 songs or so in jam space. So that side stage has always kind of been there. And this weekend, there's 4 bands a night with posters, in jam space, and they're all great.
The other thing I want to point out that is also about Jam Space and also Jam Clinic, which teaches people to play instruments, there have been bands that formed at MAGFest that then went on to play afterwards. One of the ones that is my favorite is Year 2000X.
Oh, yeah.
They formed at MAGFest at Jam Space, realized they liked each other, and was like, "Hey, let's go play some music, guys."
Go ahead. Another one?
Yeah, speaking of stuff that started at MAGFest,
Can you speak up a bit? It's hard to hear with the music next door.
stuff that formed at MAGFest, what about what this actually happened, where the Mega Manathon eventually triples become MAGFest?
Do you know the story about that?
Yeah. I'll just sit here and answer shit. It's fine. So Mega Manathon originally was, hey, we're gonna go play Mega Man. What they realized was, and there was a lot of demand for, is that they wanted run-throughs, speed-throughs. I can't think of words. What is
Speed
it?
runs.
Speed runs. Thank you. Not making the words go the right way.
It's Saturday. We're all there.
It is. I've had like 2 hours of sleep over the last 3 days. So in doing speed runs and getting those things, it became MAGFast, because what they realized was there was this huge amount of people that wanted to see people do epic speed runs of their classic games, and so MAGFast became this whole other thing.
Question for you guys. What brings you back every year? Why do you keep coming back to MAGFest?
Look, I've tried to quit.
No, you're not allowed to. You're going to stay here.
Well, that's the same thing they told me. They were like, no, you don't understand. You've run consoles for too long. We don't know what we do without you. I said, look, I wrote the first SOPs for this convention. I wrote the first emergency procedures for this convention. I distributed them to all of the other departments. I will leave everything to you. Just let me walk into the sunset. And they said,
No.
You're in too deep.
yeah.
Let's see what brings me coming back. That's actually a good question.
Yeah, Lumberjacks. What keeps you coming back?
Is the bacon?
The main thing, honestly, at this point that keeps me coming back is friends. I've experienced damn near everything that MAGFest has to offer, between panels, guests, parties, hosting epic room parties, telling John St. John he's a pussy because he wouldn't do a shot the one time. I come for friends, and I plan to keep coming as long as I can get a room.
Yeah, and for those who do not know who John St. John is, he's the voice of Duke Nukem. If you're
And he's
old
been
enough to remember that franchise.
And he's been a recurring guest. Every
And
couple
he's been a
years.
recurring guest. He's a really friendly guy, and he loves stopping in at room parties.
He is a party animal.
Yeah, he is.
He has like an entourage, like a proper musician. He has we were saying it's kind of like, Yoshi and the eggs behind him. And it's just John St. John bopping around the room, and he's got his posse with him, and he shows up to a room, and he takes off, and all the eggs leave too. I don't know if they're super fans or if they're hired or what, but John St. John has eggs.
So for me, it's friends. Like you said, there are folks that this is the one time a year I see them.
Like me.
Like the X-Strike folks, like you. It also doesn't hurt that I live 6 miles away.
Lucky.
I've offered you crash space before, so if it comes to it, you're welcome.
I mean, I'm not even sure myself at this point, because I've had this chat with Joe many times where I'm like, I feel like I don't quite mesh anymore with the event. And yet, what ends up happening is either I end up doing like the MAGFest Pokemon League stuff, or I end up on like this panel here, or I'll end up just in something that says, well, if you want to do that, or if you're interested, you got to come to MAGFest to do it. I'm like, okay, sure. And I end up making like a day trip or a 2-day trip, depending on what I have access to. And when I get here, I always end up having fun. Like I end up, like they were saying, I end up hanging out with my friends, see people I haven't seen in a long time, end up playing some video games. I just had a whole chat with the Pokemon group discussing Pokemon strategies for the new DLC that just came out. And it always ends up feeling like that video game community that I do not have at home is here. And it's like I condense, even though I do a podcast, I condense a year's worth of video game chatter into one event. And it's like kind of nourishing in a way.
I know Pernell, our conversation this year was like, Pernell, are you going to MAGFest? And you're like, I don't think I'm going to go. Do you want to do a panel? Okay, I think I'll go.
Yeah, music and friends and family. It's like I had a pretty good run where I was playing a lot in a row, and I'm like, well, if I'm not going to get booked, I'll probably still go. And I'm like, of course I'm going to go. Like I can't. This is the time of year where it's the only time you see a lot of people. It's like, see you next year is kind of the attitude at the end of the weekend, because you can at least see everybody briefly, you know. It's a lot harder because it's a lot bigger, it's a lot crazier. But, you know, everyone, there is a MAGFest on that end I'm never going to see. There's a MAGFest in the tabletop I'm never going to see. But my concert space is there. My buddies are here. So that's why I keep coming back.
Hey, join me at tabletop.
So I don't come every year, but I was using the analogy that there's this ocean of the video game music, the whole scene like that you see at MAGFest, and I have like my tiny toe touching the ocean. Like, you know, I'm not a full professional in the space, but I dabble. MAGFest is when I just jump in and swim around for a few days, and then I got to get out, and it takes 5 years for it to come off, and then I'm ready to go back in. But beyond that, though, I'm a composer who a little bit of a dry spell. I just, you know. People say when you have a wife and kids that you don't have as much time to write, and I say that's true. No, I'm getting inspiration here. I'm getting ideas. I'm getting names of performers. Like I got a track I'm working on where I'm like stuck because I need a talented violinist. Guess what? I'm finding talented violinists, you know, and just have a radar for like, oh, you know, these people want to, you know, collaborate and do, you know, create, and man, okay, I got to get back in there, you know. It's just hearing all the talent is it's helping kind of get those juices flowing again. So.
What have you done this year at MAGFest? How have you kept busy this year, and what are you still looking forward to doing this year?
All right, so I normally spend most of my time on the console room floor. I cannot escape it. I stand in one place and people come and ask me like questions constantly. However, this year I have made it to more room parties than in the previous 5 years combined. Last night I found a bouncy house, and I am going to live with that one for the rest of my time.
A bouncy house?
Yes.
Where?
It was a small bouncy castle on the top floor. It was great.
Oh my God! Like in a room or just in the hallway?
In a room, and there was these. No. Yeah, so there was a bunch of women. I'm sorry you weren't there.
Should have called me.
Very scantily clad, just bouncing.
Should have called me.
I'm telling you. There was a bunch of fishnet. It was wonderful. We all had fun. We had drinks. It was great. That is my MAGFest. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, what was the question? I got distracted.
What have you done this year, and what are you still looking forward to doing this year?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's really anything super significant. I mean, I've pretty much, you know, hit the concerts. I checked out all the vendors because there's always new vendors. There's a ton of vendors this year.
Did you get the waifu pillow?
No, I did not get the waifu pillow.
Are you going to get the waifu pillow?
So anyways, you know, check the vendors and, you know, check the arcade games because, you know, there's always something, like I said, something new, something different, something interesting that I haven't seen before. And, you know, coming from someone that's been here since Mag 1, you know, that's saying something. You know, checking out the indie developers, you know, and there's tons and tons of panels and whatnot. So there's always like something like, oh, hey, wow, that wasn't here last year. Maybe I'll go check that out. Let's go take a look. I mean, heck, me and a friend of mine, Chris, we almost jumped in on this this United Nations Pokemon LARP on a complete whim. It's like, what?
You should have.
United Nations Pokemon LARP. It's like, that sounds like the weirdest thing ever. but unfortunately, the time block for it was a little bit too longer than we could invest in.
Wait, what was that panel that you saw earlier that you were like, if they're going to have stuff like this, Lumberjacks panel's set for life?
Well, I don't want to put anyone on blast.
There's some crazy panels this
Yeah,
year. I
yeah,
love to
there's-
see it. There's like some batshit crazy panels and guests, and I just love seeing how weird MAGFest can get.
The erotica panel is tonight.
Erotica panel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What time?
I probably around the midnight, 1 o'clock range.
Cool. Call me.
Because we're always a little paranoid. It's like, who's really going to want to come and watch a bunch of boomers talk about the good old days and MAGFest when all you
Remember
little
when?
By the way,
whippersnappers?
thank you for getting lost and finding this room.
Yeah. We appreciate it.
Matt,
Let's see, pinball.
pinball's always good.
Concerts. Tim and I have named that tune in like an hour and a half.
Hint that quick.
3:30, panels 2.
I'll be there.
There you go.
That too.
What year name that tune is it this year?
It says 20. I think it might actually be 19, but we did it at Mag Labs a couple times. So.
Yeah, it says XX. Yeah.
So what have I done in the last 2 hours? Because that's how long
Well,
I've
I
been
did
at
this
MAGFest.
panel, and then
Yeah.
I'm going home.
And I'm going home. No, I am going to, push a little bit. I got pretty much a 3-hour drive ahead when I do head home. So during this time, I hope to, maybe talk with more friends, check out the tabletop area, walk around the consoles and the arcade, see what they got. Mostly a lot of just wandering and seeing what is here, maybe not having time to engage in any of it. But I think I'm getting the most out of it just by being able to see my friends, and that makes me happy in and of itself. So maybe one of these should also stay for the entire weekend.
When you're playing a show on the last day of the weekend, you have to kind of like throttle. You got to like be careful and not go too nuts. Tried to do that. Tried. But I did get here day 0, which was cool, on Wednesday, which I haven't done in about 10 years, and everyone should do that. I accidentally sent Ryan's luggage to the wrong room. That was kind of a fun adventure. Got some cardio in. F-14 Tomcat pinball was probably the most well set up pinball in the arcade. I
You got
thought.
to play it?
Yeah, it is real good. Play that. And then I rolled 100 shirts, and then we just had rehearsal and came here. And nothing's on my mind except for our show tonight. So that is it. That's nothing on the to-do list except the
Rock the
Metroid
fuck
music
out.
at 7:30, main stage,
So is
and
that
then I
what
can
this
relax.
SML ball squash shirt is about? It's about the pinball thing you guys are talking
Yes.
about right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If
Mystery.
people are wondering what the hell our shirt is about, I host a podcast called the SML Podcast. Pernell's a big part of it. Ian joins every now and then. Grant joins when he can. He does a lot of pinball stuff for us. And we had people from Zen Studios and Pinball Arcade on together with Grant, and he wrote a song for it called Ball Squad. And
It was
his
the 2 virtual pinball competitors. We had a representative from each of them on the same podcast,
Yeah.
and it was actually pretty civil and cool.
It
And I
was
like,
fun.
So I wrote a 20-second theme song for it.
Yeah.
because you have to.
Ball Squad.
That's it. Never been the same.
All right, well, I guess I'll do my story, and then we're almost out of time. We've been talking this long? Crazy. No, it's funny. I'm a fan of Alexander Brandon. Back in the tracking days, by the name Siren. I grew up, and I would listen to his stuff and inspired, go try to do what he did. I've since become friends with the guy, and he's here. And I ran into him on Thursday, and we talked for a bit, and then it's just funny. Thursday night, 11 o'clock, I'm beat. I'm traveling all day, and I'm walking to go get an Uber to go back to my hotel down the road. And he runs into me and says, "Hey, I'm about to do a show. You want to come?" And I'm sitting here like, okay. I'm so tired, but I'm like, when your icon invites you to a show that he's in, it's like, you have to go.
Yeah.
And I stayed up till 2 in the morning.
Yay.
So didn't go to bed anytime soon. Yeah, and it was a good show.
Nice. Any questions from anyone? A purple shirt, number 8.
What is your all's biggest fear for the future of MET? Since this is the first time in quite a bit the show is capped out.
Oh man,
So I want to be clear, we're capped because that's how many badges we purchased. We're not capped because of space.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
The
I mean,
Badgers
you
was,
look around. I mean, there's tons of.
That is new. I thought it was capped for space.
I mean, you'd think so, wandering through the marketplace, but no. Like the Gaylord can handle more of us. The other problem that we're dealing with is there's no more room to stay places.
Yeah.
So like we sold out every single hotel here. We sold out every single fucking hotel in Alexandria. Like we got rid of every room that we had possibly put a block into, and then some. So the cap is. I don't want to say the cap's a lie. It's not. But like. We're limited by where we can stuff people to. That didn't sound right.
and the number of badges was 25,000. Was that the number?
No, it's higher than that.
Higher than that. Okay.
And one thing about that also messes with me too is like I've heard people make comments and to say like, well, I guess MAGFest has outgrown the Gaylord. I'm like, no, the Gaylord is probably the biggest spot you're going to get in this country. So if anything, it's like you were saying, it's more about where people can sleep. So there's no outgrowing the Gaylord. The day we outgrow the Gaylord is the day where we're going to have to start telling people you just can't go to the con because there's nowhere else for it to go.
We got to adapt the Japanese custom of pods. Just have these little bunkers you can just slide into and sleep.
I was gonna say they have like pop-up lockers. Why don't you take a couple
Pop-up
panel rooms
beds,
and just
yeah.
put cots in there?
Yeah.
But to answer your question of what the fear is that it gets to a certain point that it's so big that it loses the vibe and it gets too commercial. Like the whole point that we've all been talking about for the last hour is MAG has this feel that you're coming to family, you're coming to friends, and that's what we all want to preserve. And so we're doing our best as department heads, as attendees, as everything to keep that vibe.
Yeah, because one thing I'm sure everyone has noticed, at least on some level, is that we are not like officially sponsored.
Yeah, we're just random people.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the reasons why they do like all the support stuff and all of that, because a lot of that goes towards sustaining, the organization, and even like way back in the day when they were struggling to break even, the idea is like, oh, maybe we should get sponsored. It's like, no, because I mean, I'm sure we've all been to a convention or some sort of, thing similar that has been commercially or corporately sponsored to that effect. And it's nice not having all of the advertisements and all that stuff kind of.
Monster Energy all over the room.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Exactly what he said. What do you guys, from being here for so long, what are you guys looking forward to in the future for MAGFest?
The bands. As long as they keep bringing my friends back to perform, I'm gonna keep coming. Like I'm here for Grant this year.
Yeah.
Like I'm here for Metroid Metal. I want to go see Super Madness since you let me check out Super Madness. I want to check them out too. But my main goal for coming was to see Grant perform, and that's what brings me back. I'll keep coming as long as friends are here performing and I can get a room. That's the big thing.
And scantily clad bouncy house.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm looking
More
forward,
bouncy houses.
I'm looking forward to MAGFest properly multiplying. So, PAX did west, PAX went east, immediately latched on, equal size, south, whatever. And west hasn't quite caught on yet. It's there. It's freaking the Bay Area, California. I don't know how it'll take to get everyone there to grow it to the size of what feels comfortable and is good and is running smoothly, but it's super fun. It's where I am, and I go every year, and it's a blast, and it's a different vibe. But I want it to grow too, right? Like
Sometimes I question if
tilted a
the
little bit.
reason why MAG in itself has gotten where it did. Okay. Sometimes I wonder if the reason why MAGFest here has gotten to be where it is because of, even though people do travel for it, of course, that mid-Atlantic aspect of things has to help in some way too. Multiple airports, ease of access.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we are kind of centrally located on the coastline, sort of ish.
I think that might be a large part of the issue, but I do agree. Like, there's a ton of people out west, even if it's all California. Like, I can imagine why it wouldn't grow beyond a certain scope, like even on year 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's brought, okay, to make a comment here on West. It's having people who are willing to go to every show in the West that's closely related to it will help it grow.
Yeah.
Going from Phoenix to Salt Lake City going to probably be going everywhere, because that was part of the early part of how I noticed MAG way back in 2010. It was doing so many shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more doing.
So, not to talk about too much like behind the scenes stuff, but the reason why MAGFest jumped so many hotels in the early days, where we spend like 1 or 2 years in a hotel, is because they don't know how to handle us.
Yeah.
Like, we are a force of nature, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
the MAGWest is now realizing this. We can only spend 1 or 2 years in a hotel, and the hotel goes, "Yeah, you may be a little too big for us."
Yeah,
We've fucked up some hotels before.
MAGFest did, not to get too off on a tangent, but MAGFest did have its growing pains, and
Antiquing.
The great antiquing of MAGFest 4.
4 or 5, something.
I think it was 4. Yeah, because they did not have us back. Basically, if you don't know what antiquing is, basically someone had like a bag of flour and started powdering the crap out of everything and anything in the hotel.
Every
think that was
door
5.
down hallways, they would just powder everything.
No,
Just through power of
no,
walls
it-
and stuff?
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
Everything. Yeah,
and just to give you an
powder
idea of how
everywhere,
bad it
flour,
was,
whatever it was.
people were like walking out to the parking lot with their luggage, ready to go home before Brendan, who was running the event at the time, ran out and was like, "No, I smoothed things over. Come back. We're still on. We're still on."
But this happens everywhere. There was the great squirt gun fight in the snow and ice outside of the Hilton Mark Center, where everyone was getting covered as they came out and then frozen. Also, like I said, the dildos and drawing the penises all over the walls in the Mark Center. I'm amazed that the Marriott here still has us, given that we managed to replace every single phone handset in all of the by the elevator banks with fruit.
Yes.
That was great. So
that was a real good one.
do you want to call a banana? Here, have a banana phone. So we've done this to all of the hotels, and it's amazing that we are still allowed to come back here. Honestly,
There was there was a window where something would happen every single mag, and I'm like, this is it. It's over. You see this band come down the escalator, and they're all wearing lampshades from the hotel rooms. This is it. That's it.
Yep, this is the year that we're getting
Nope,
kicked
they're
out.
coming
We're
back.
screwed.
I mean, for a sense of perspective, though, that sort of stuff, maybe not to that degree, but it does happen at lots of other conventions and not just nerd conventions. So,
All the other cool conventions were doing it.
All right, one last question.
Sorry, no, I just wanted to, that's a quick comment. In Charlottesville, they run so hard, like a chandelier fell from the ceiling.
Yeah, we broke a lot of shit. What was it, MAGFest 2? The A rival literally
2,
brought
yeah.
the ceiling down.
I don't know about that.
That was fucking
the one who's
crazy.
like walking across the
it was
bar?
one of the lights like that, not like the whole ceiling.
Yeah,
Was he singing "I'm the Last Boss" at the time? Because that would do it.
But we are out of time. Thank you all so much for coming to this. We love seeing everyone here. Is this anybody's first MAGFest? Your first MAGFest? Welcome to MAGFest. Have a great time. Come back in the future. Closing remarks, we'll all give a quick closing thank you. I just want to thank everyone for coming to this. You give us a reason to do this stuff and to just bullshit for an hour and share stories, and we love sharing stories, and hopefully we can keep doing this.
as the staffer representative up here, if you see somebody in a red shirt, tell them how much fun you're having. That is our best thank you. So seriously, walk up to anybody in a
Volunteers.
red shirt and be like, "Hey, I loved this about the con," because they will be so ecstatic over it. Thank you.
And give them a thank you, because I volunteered for staff, and man, it is not easy. Even as a volunteer, I can only imagine what it's like for the people that do this throughout the whole event. But but thanks for letting us do our thing, and thanks for help contributing to that MAGFest vibe, so everyone can have fun and have memories to relate, and just keep coming back.
And thanks for waking up early to be here. Matt.
Well, like I said, name that tune at 3:30 in panels too. But otherwise, I mean, I'm kind of speaking for a lot of us here. I think come say hi. It's a friendly vibe for a lot of people, and you can make new friends, swap stories.
Yeah, if you see us walking around, just say hi to us. We love talking to people. We love making new friends. Maybe we could party. I don't know. Pernell.
I'm just going to say, thanks for coming to the panel. I would also like to say that a large part of what makes the MAGFest vibe what it is the fact that the participants of MAG aren't dicks to each other. So go forth and be kind to people who could use it, be kind to people who can't use it. Just be a decent human being, and it will pay out in dividends.
Love it. Thank you for coming. Joe, thank you for the invite. Red shirt in the back. I'm having a very good time. And come see Metroid Metal tonight at 7 o'clock. 7:30. We got some surprises.
Between these two, you got your whole mag right there for Saturday.
And yeah, just to echo the sentiment, whether it's your first or your 20th, MAGFest is where you can make lasting friendships. I mean, like
Yes.
Joe and a lot of these guys here I met at the first MAGFest, and we're
very
still
first
friends.
MAGFest. I'm sitting
20
in the,
years later.
Yeah, the main lobby sitting
You were
with
sitting on the
Mustin, and
couch.
you
Mustin
just walk
introduced
up.
me. I just sat down. We just started talking, and dude,
It's like, this is Maze Dude. And
We're
I'm
still-
like, I
we're still
love
talking.
River City Ramstein.
Did I meet you at MAGFest, actually?
I
the
think
first
so.
one.
We met at the first mag, but I don't think we really got to know each other until
Later,
the Gaylord
yeah.
years.
It's okay, hug
But-
it out later.
Oh, we will.
Thanks, guys.
But thank you. Have a good weekend, everyone.